Well, coming up on today's show, the Audi e-tron jumps to number 4 in Germany's sales figures. The first Hyundai Kona is delivered in the US, and Amazon leading a $700 million investment into Riven. Plus, your answers to question of the week this week. Welcome to the show on location. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, in fact, wherever you're listening around the world. Welcome to EV News Daily for your Sunday the 17th of February edition. My name is Martyn Lee, and I've been through every EV story that I can find today to pick out the best ones and hopefully save you time. Yeah, podcast on location today. We are at a family holiday retreat in a lodge, one of those kind of big wooden lodges where not quite a log cabin, but it's the best way I can describe it. 4 bedrooms, big log cabin, big fire in the lounge. I'm tucked away in one of the bedrooms right now. The kids are currently out watching a magic show. There's like an entertainment. There's a little stage here. There's like a bar and a restaurant, and then there's lots of log cabins as you go out into the forest. And so that's what we've been doing today. Some forest walks, some walks on the beach. And they're now thoroughly enjoying themselves, and I've come back to do the podcast for you today. As always, thank you to myev.com for helping me make this show. They have built the world's first marketplace, all about buying and selling EVs. It's a custom marketplace purely for electric vehicles. Check it out if you are in the USA. Well, thank you very much to some new Patreon supporters over the last 24 hours. Firstly, increasing his support to become a fully fledged producer is Kenneth Moore. Hello, Kenneth. Signing up as a new patron is Art Lightstone. What a great name, Art Lightstone. That'd be my rock star name if I had one. And joining up as a new executive producer is Steve John. Steve, thank you very much. I've added your name to the credits at the end of the show that will appear, as all our executive producers do, in the show notes, on your podcast apps, and other places this show gets distributed. Let's start with the Audi e-tron. All of a sudden, from nowhere, jumping to number 4 in Germany's sales charts. Last month in January, the plug-in car market was up. In January, 6,700 registrations in January. A seismic change happening to the fuels mix as pure BEVs jumping. Plug-in hybrids sinking, but of course the other fuel mix is going down as well. Reports CleanTechnica. Looking at January's best sellers, good moment of all electric models, actually. 8 pure electrics are in the top 10. The fully electric Renault Zoe, just like France, is Germany's number 1. 800 of those last month, followed by the e-Golf and the BMW i3, the fully electric version of that, no wrecks, with 703 registrations. The big surprise, though, not for some, but I was surprised to see the Audi e-tron registering 407 registrations. That puts it in 4th place in the sales charts. Why was I surprised? Because deliveries haven't begun. And so that must be Audi buying Audis, or rather the dealers buying Audis, or maybe Audi have built them and they want to buy them for some of their self-driving car tests, or whatever reason they've wanted to get some sales on the board. I'm pretty sure, please correct me, I'm pretty sure none of those 407 people that registrations for the Audi e-tron in January are actually people driving their car around. I'm presuming it's people that work for Audi, for the VW group. If you've seen some on the roads, I imagine they're still being tested. However, if you know of anyone that's actually got their hands on one, not a dealer, not a demonstrator, not a test drive car, I'd love to know. I'll put a link to CleanTechnica in the show notes. Well, the first Hyundai Kona has now been delivered in the US, finally happening after months of watching the Kona Electric be dispatched all around the world, firstly in home market of Korea, then Europe. Now the US deliveries are beginning. In a ceremony yesterday, Dr. Donald Small. Dr. Donald is a director of pediatric oncology in the John Hopkins Kimmel Cancer Center, and he had his all-electric car handed over, according to Dominic at InsideEVs.com. More details will be released soon. If Hyundai is following the same path as its other markets, the ultimate trim is going to be the top-level trim, starting at $44,650 in the US. Limited trim begins at $41,150. The most affordable trim is the SEL package, and that's got a base price of $36,450. And bearing in mind that the trim level of the US Kona is going to be different to the other markets. So if you're watching a car review and that car was made in Korea, it was made for the European markets, the UK markets, for instance, double check the spec on that US market Hyundai Kona. As I only learned recently, there can be significant differences in the car because each different territory, if you like. So Hyundai of North America will spec the car different. And I thought the specs would be subtle trim levels, but it can be even as kind of deep as to do with the battery conditioning. And I think the ones in the US, it's either it hasn't got battery cooling or it hasn't got battery heating. It's one way or the other. Maybe it's the battery heating that it hasn't got because they don't think they're going to be sold in really cold markets. Correct me if I'm wrong and it's the other way around, but I'm surprised that something so fundamental as conditioning of a lithium-ion EV battery, which is the thing that you don't want to really muck about with. That should be dictated by the engineers working who built the car. Look, this is what the car needs to have a great lifespan, no deg on the battery. This is what you need, and you can't spec taking bits off of it. Then I'm surprised they are allowed to do that. But again, if I've misread that, then please correct me. But that's as far as I understand it. Okay, the big news. The big news that one or let's say 10 listeners emailed me about the minute it happened. Yes, this is huge news. Amazon is investing. Amazon is taking a stake in Rivian. They're taking the lead in a $700 million funding round with several other investors, including some current investors who are increasing their stake. They like what they see, says CleanTechnica. The company says it's intent on developing vehicles, technology and services to get people out and exploring the world. The R1S, the R1T, the R1S for SUV, the R1T for truck. They have 750 people working for them. Rivian is a company that's been around a lot longer than most people realise. They have moved in different directions. The concept has changed, and now they've settled on this platform with 750 people working in Plymouth, Michigan, in San Jose and Irvine, California, in Surrey, here in the UK, actually in England. It's building its vehicles at the former Mitsubishi factory in Normal, Illinois. Mitsubishi ceased producing vehicles at the 2.6 million square foot factory 4 years ago. In 2015, Rivian says it will launch the R1T and the R1S in the US first, and it'll be late 2020, with sales in other countries slated to begin in 2021. Jeff Wilk is Amazon's CEO of Worldwide Consumer, and he said this, and I quote, it's a bit of a beige quote, by the way, bear with me, and I quote, "We're inspired by Rivian's vision for the future of electric transportation. RJ has built an impressive organisation with a product portfolio and technology to match. We're thrilled to invest in such an innovative company," end quote. So it's exactly what you'd expect somebody to say. They're doing a great job. We're investing. We're all very happy. I'd love to have had a bit more colour to that, actually, and a bit more detail on maybe Amazon's plans for, on the long term, all of their billions of deliveries being done increasingly under electric power, but for now, a pretty standard press release quote. Moving to BMW blog, and if you haven't seen, no spoilers by the way, the Formula E race in Mexico, the E-Prix in Mexico City, I haven't watched it myself either because I don't think it's actually happened yet. It might be happening very shortly because of the time difference. The new BMW i8 Coupe safety car is debuting at the Mexico City E-Prix. BMW i has been very associated with Formula E over the years, official vehicle partner since the very first season. They've provided the entire fleet of safety vehicles ever since. Now, the BMW i8 Coupe, and funnily enough, I saw one today as I was out and about driving around, and I'm always blown away at how good that styling still looks. It's a pretty old design now, but man, that looks great, and some great technology under the skin of it as well. It's been modified, though, for Formula E to be the safety car. It's got some BMW M components to cope with the specific demands of motor racing. These modifications include a roll bar in there. There's a rear wing and rear hatch made of carbon fibre, a front splitter, sports seats, and the BMW M4 GTS was the donor car for those seats. It's got 4-point harnesses, a roof-mounted signal light system, and BMW M carbon ceramic brakes. So it looks like an i8 from the outside, but this new wonderful new paint scheme as well will draw more attention to it, and that's a good thing. What a fabulous EV that is. I know it's a hybrid, but I think there's plenty of room for cars like the BMW i8, even if you do have to put fossil fuels in them. Let's just stay with BMW for a while, though. The BMW 330e Touring, what you might call a wagon, what I would call an estate, what the Germans would call a touring. It's a plug-in It's a plug-in hybrid, and it's on the way. And you know what? I think this is going to be such an important car. I love BMW estates, BMW wagons, or whatever you want to call them. I just think the styling over the years has just been just sublime. And that market segment as well, the 330e, if they get it right, with a really good range, it could be such an important car. Let's find out more. Electrified cars are on the rise everywhere around the world, says BMW blog, and BMW are doing some hefty increases in their investment and seeing an increase in demand as well. One of the most popular at the moment is the BMW 530e plug-in hybrid. In certain markets, it's the only one you can actually get because the 745e is a few months away. The X5 hybrid is not available yet, and the 330e has also been announced but not yet available to dealers. Now, I'm looking forward to the 330e. It has longer electric range and a higher speed as well from its EV motor, rather than just the old 14 miles of range on the old car. The new one has got 37 miles. Now you're talking. Now it begins to be a little more useful. 37 miles and an electric top speed, which doesn't really... I don't know, I'm not fussed about electric top speeds. 86 miles an hour on EV power alone. Well, look, if I get caught doing 86 in this country, that is big, fine points on my license time. The old top speed of the electric motor was 74 miles an hour on the 330e. So again, it doesn't really matter as long as it's got that performance, that kick to get you to 40, 50, 60 really quickly, and the longer range, the better. You know what? I know there's divided opinion on plug-in hybrids. Some people saying the technology is there for full battery electric vehicles. Just make the jump now. And you know, we have as well. You know, we have a full electric car, and it doesn't hold us back in any way. But I do think about fleet buyers, think about people who aren't ready to make the jump, think about people who see these stories in the press that are made up and they're worried. Then they'll buy this one, and in 3 years' time, then they'll buy a full EV. That's kind of my prediction, but I know everyone's got a different opinion. Some saying just get a full electric car. Let's talk about Mercedes-Benz, but let's not talk about their performance cars. Let's talk about Mercedes-Benz Trucks, a really big and important part of their company, of their bottom line. They've got to get trucks right if they're going to be profitable. Mercedes-Benz has handed over a new e-Actros to the Merg Valley in southern Germany logistics company Logistik Schmidt, according to Green Car Congress. Now, Stefan Buchner is the head of Mercedes-Benz Trucks, and he had this to say about the handover, and I quote, "Our e-Actros has been out on public roads since June last year, covering more than 30,000 kilometres with its battery electric drive. Together with customers, we've been compiling experiences of the e-Actros in regular operations since September. Its range of 200 kilometres has proved to be absolutely realistic." That's great. 200 Ks on a truck, that's good news. The e-Actros completes its transportation tasks regardless of the route or other factors. The expenses in installing one charging station at each customer's premises, he says, is low. There's every indication that we're on the right track with our e-Actros concept. So I know that the Tesla semi-trucks, I mean, they're bigger anyway, but they get a lot of press publicity, pictures on blogs when they're seen out and about doing their testing, they're travelling, they're on-road testing. There's no way of really testing a truck without actually doing, you can take it to a test track, or if it's super secret, you could do it indoors. But really, you've got to get out on the road, start hauling stuff, start charging it, start testing it. That's what Tesla are doing, and that's what Mercedes are doing as well. And they just get less airtime about it. So some publicity for Mercedes for doing what they're doing with the e-Actros. Right, final story, then we'll get into your answers to question of the week, as always, on a Sunday. And this is more big oil money going into the green industries. Shell has announced an acquisition of Sonnen. Sonnen is a German company that specialises in home energy storage, mostly known for its home battery packs. Sonnen expanded into home EV charging last year. What does it mean for the industry, which includes Tesla's Powerwall, says Phil for Electrek? Well, Shell previously invested 60 million euros in Sonnen, not even a year ago. After the completion of this acquisition, Sonnen is now a wholly owned subsidiary of Shell. Sonnen's main product is the Sonnen battery. It's a home storage battery, similar to the Powerwall. It comes in two models. There's Eco and there's Eco Links, Linx, with more home automation features on that one. And so more, and whatever Shell paid is still small change for an oil company. A bit like any of the big acquisitions that have taken place, even if they're 100, 200 million. For oil company budgets, that can be a rounding error. I'm exaggerating for effect, as I often do on the podcast, but you know what I'm saying. Let's get on to your answers to question of the week this week. Are you a member of an EV club, either physically or online? Do you think EVs need you to be part of a community, like a Facebook page, or are they no different to normal cars? Let me know your thoughts, whether you have. Thank you very much to everyone that chipped in. First of all was Neil E. Roberts from Sussex EVs, who I met last Saturday. And sadly, even though I had my microphone with him to record yesterday's show, which was a chat with Chris Ramsey. If you haven't heard it yet, our Saturday special has gone down very, very well, by the way. Then you can download that anytime you want to hear someone who drove almost 10,000 miles in a Nissan Leaf in the Mongol Rally a couple of years ago with Chris. Anyway, back to Neil and our answer to question of the week. When people first get into EVs, he says, it can be very daunting. You're often the only person in your family or friend group with an EV. It can feel lonely. I created Sussex EVs, says Neil. I created Sussex EVs as a friendly and safe place to ask questions and speak to people currently driving EVs. The regular meetups are an important part of that because it allows new owners or people who don't yet have an EV to talk to people who do. If you meet people who are already driving electric cars day to day and the step for yourself is a lot less scary, it's also a great opportunity to talk to owners of specific models to find out what they think. And you can Google Sussex EVs if you want to know more. Hello to Brian. Brian Weatherall says, my go-to place for discussion is obviously the UK Nissan Leaf Owners Group. Not just because I started it 3 years ago, says Brian. But it's a great fun group and we have a great team of moderators keeping it clean and on topic. Leaf owners are a friendly bunch and I don't see the one-upmanship and bickering that I see in other groups. But mention self-charging hybrids and they'll see red like anyone else. We work closely with the Renault Zoe Owners Club to promote EVs and help guide new owners on EV ownership. And hello to Philippe Calvet. I am part of AVEQ, says Philippe. AVEQ.ca is their address. It's an association of more than 10,000 members and 800 volunteers offering news, guides, calculators, podcasts, and organising events around sustainable transport. And here's what I like the most. In summer, they organise public events. They're once a month. You can go and ask questions, see cars from all manufacturers, and even, this is key, test drive them. Once you get in one, it'll demystify the electric cars and have people understanding correctly what's awesome about them. Thank you very much for sending me a picture as well of 2 Model 3s showing up after the first deliveries in Canada last year. They went and turned up at the meetup to kind of show them off, and well, absolutely, why not? Let's move on to a few more comments then. Got some YouTube comments coming up, but first of all, some more of the emails that were sent to hello@evnewsdaily.com. Jack Oakley says, he says, I'm not a part at the moment, but I would like to be. I've been researching how to start an EV owners group in northeast Pennsylvania. I think an EV owners group not only helps fellow EV owners with questions, share experiences, but also evangelize EV ownerships meeting up at local parks, pubs and restaurants, he says. Well, Jack, I got some news. I'm lining up some interviews, both with Craig, who organises EVs in the park here in the UK, and also Neil, who we heard from a moment ago on Sussex EVs. And if anybody else runs a club, by the way, and you'd like to be featured on our special on the podcast, drop me a note and I'll organise a Skype call and catch up with you, asking people who currently run clubs, how did you start? What are the pros and cons? What have you got to bear in mind? That'll be a Saturday special. If not next week, then probably maybe the week after. I've got a few lined up actually in the can, so maybe it'll be in a couple of weeks' time. But if you keep listening, then you're going to hear that, and I think you'll be super interested. Hello to Joshua Pritt. My wife and I co-founded the Space Coast EV Drivers, Owners and Enthusiasts Club here in Melbourne, Florida. The Space Coast EV Drivers Group was formed with the mission of answering questions the community has about EVs. We have a nice charging station info page. Check out Space Coast EV moreevdrivers.com. They do a lot of public events with Q&A as well, and it's a great way of getting people together. Josh, thank you so much for getting in contact. Hello to John. I listen to your podcast daily. I belong to the Owners Club of Ontario, Toronto. We have a monthly meeting to share experiences. Check out ontario.teslaownersclub.ca. Great one. Hello to Carl Kramer. A shout out to the Chevy Vault Owners Group on Facebook. It's an invaluable resource for newbie EV owners. After a while, you become a veteran and you help out the newcomers. Richard Nash says, I recently realised the importance of being part of a club, the Renault Zoe Owners Club, here in the UK. A few weeks ago, he said we had a really cold spell and my heater stopped working. I coped with it for a few days, but then took it back to the Renault dealer and the car was blowing out cold air. So you're having to drive along with your gloves on. Not ideal. The engineer spoke with the mechanics and came back with this explanation. The heater in the Zoe isn't very good in cold weather, but if you want, you can book it in. There's nothing else we can do. So he went on to Facebook and joined up the Renault Zoe Owners Club, and he found some information, and basically in very rare cases, you have to reset the heater. Well, how do you do that? Well, one of the ways you can do that, one of the fellow people on Facebook told him, if you set the aircon to really cold, minimum cold, and then aim a hairdryer at the driver's side wing mirror, which is where the sensor, the temperature sensor, is located, it resets it. And the minute he did that, his car heated up nicely. And he says he should have been told that by Renault. And he considered complaining. He's currently composing a letter. But he found the answer online in the community. What a wonderful experience of joining up a community and them helping you more than Renault's own engineers and the mechanics at dealerships who... Frankly, some of them could learn more. Some of them are amazing, by the way. Some of them are incredible. You know, if I'm talking about dealers, and it's fair to say, I've given them a kicking or two. Yes, which isn't great. However, there is one dealer who in particular who I always see on the UK EV forums. He's always giving advice to people online, on communities, and that is Will Adams. Now, Will Adams is at DSG in Morecambe, the north of England here. He goes out of his way. He must spend hours every week just helping people who he's not making a sale, he's just helping them, and that is amazing. And he sent me a note today actually, and he said we had a Kona electric come in for a service. It's already done 20,000 miles, and how long's the Kona been on sale in the UK? 6 months? He said it's done 20,000 miles, we checked its state of health and it's still 100%. Wow, that's so cool. Will, thank you as always for dropping me notes that I can then pass on to the rest of the listeners and the community. Hello to R.S. Bradley, Roger Bradley, who says, I've not yet joined an EV car club, but I've been happily driving the Kona since last year. However, I've been thinking it would be a good idea to start one aimed at fellow employees. I work for a big university, and many staff are throughout the UK, spread out. Therefore, I believe that more EV drivers are amongst the workforce, and I think it would support the rollout of zero-emission transport within the organisation. Hello to Lisa. Lisa Allen says we started a local meetup group, the Electric Motor Club of High Point, which sadly has not had the turnout we hoped for. We have educated folks, though. The Electric Motor Club of High Point with Lisa Allen of North Carolina. If you're in the area, please support it. Join up. Give them support. I'm sure it just needs a little while to grow. And thank you very much to everyone who has sent me answers this week. Oh, have I got time? What are we at? Yeah, I've got time for a quick couple of YouTubes. Those that send me the comments on YouTube. I don't tend to do these if I'm short for time, or if I've gone over, by the way, because everybody can see these. Then they're not the private ones on email. They're public, and often people are talking to them already in the comments section. But very quickly, Michael Arbour says, I'm a member of Blue City, the EV car club, which is not really what we were talking about with associations, but it is, a car club, if you like, is a group of people sharing EVs. I use the cars in London. There have been more parking bays expanding recently, but we do need more. Hello to Adam Gebbett. E-Tripping with Adam Gebbett. E-Tripping, I'm a member of Neil's club in Sussex in the UK. I don't live in Sussex, but the club is so welcoming and knowledgeable. There's always regular club meets and they're great fun with like-minded people. I love that. Hello to Ashley Hill. Ashley Hill says, a strong yes to be part of a club, not just for the social or educational aspects, but for the access to shareable resources. And that's something that nobody else said, and I hadn't even considered it. He said, the occasional use if you need to borrow a 22 kilowatt AC charging adapter, like a Juice Booster 2. I've never used one. I've never had to look one up, but I've seen the Juice Booster used by Bjorn Nyland in his videos, and so I think you can plug almost anything into one end of them, and it'll cope with. But they're expensive, right? So if you're going on a road trip and you need one, great, be part of a club, a community, take care with other people's stuff, but it'll save you buying one for yourself. And hello to Arnis. There are only a few reasons to be part of a club. Ones like TMC, my Nissan Leaf, Model 3 Owners Club. But you can share data and resolve problems. I know a lot of mechanical stuff, but these days I've stopped answering FAQs. And hello to Peter Gorton. Martin, 1,000 Aussies belong to the Australian EV Association. We have branches in each state. Based in the capital cities, we hold an annual conference, an expo, and events through the year. We have a quarterly 56-page e-newsletter, online blogs and boards. We grow modestly, but please do check out aeva.asn.au. A great show this week. Really positive news and really positive comments. Thank you so much for answering question of the week this week. Let's set a brand new question thanks to myev.com. And here it is. This is an interesting one, and it's based on the news this week of Amazon investing as part of that £700 million funding round of Rivian. Is there room for any more startup EV makers to succeed, or will the oncoming rush of models from the established names stifle any newcomers? AKA, have Rivian even got a chance? Or is Tesla the first and last startup in the EV space? Now everyone else is getting on board. There it is again. Here it is again. Is there room for startup EV makers to succeed, or will the oncoming rush of models from the established names stifle newcomers? Please do answer that by emailing me hello@evnewsdaily.com. You can leave a comment on YouTube, Facebook, at myev.com as well, and let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much to 184 patrons of the show for keeping us going and keeping the archive online. There are indeed 390 shows online for free where you get your podcasts from, and you can get new ones by hitting subscribe. You get them first and free and automatically, and we put the audio on YouTube as well. Come and say hi on the socials by searching EV News Daily. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.